Hello. Welcome to MegaMagic Trio. This is a new library I am releasing just before Christmas. Happy holidays. Ho, 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 ho. This is 3 libraries that have not gotten the chance to get together and play like this because when they were made for Omnisphere 2, they each had too many samples and they couldn't fit into one patch inside of Omnisphere. These libraries were made in 2017. 5 years later, still can't get more than 8 samples out of Omnisphere in real time. You can do some tricks, get a few more, but not as many as needed to make these libraries work. So I have my own plugin, Unify now, and we are able to put all of the samples for both cello, viola, and violin into one library. So this is 236 patches, 4 gigabytes. The install is a part 1, part 2. Install part 1 first, then install part 2, enter your license number, and it is going to be there working for you, ready to go. As you can see at the top are the cello patches, then the viola, then the violin patches. 2017, Kevin Dietz, we did a recording session with him. Here's a couple photos I'll pop up from the session. In fact, here's a little video.
G3 vibrato.
So we recorded in northern Portland at a really cool studio, really cool mics. Drew Canulet is a friend of mine that's a wonderful engineer. He's engineered all the libraries, MegaMagic guitars, this MegaMagic bells and winds. He's behind all of those with setting up microphones and just picking the right gear. And he's got a cool space. It's not a studio per se, so it has a nice little ambience to it. We were there for making that library. Then in 2018, around April, I released MegaMagic Viola. And then October, we released MegaMagic Violin. As you can see, there's up to 11 articulations, and each one of this have both dry, so you have and then you have MegaMagic, which has the 12 seconds of reverb that I've used on other libraries. Gives it this whole different sound. It's really cool. And we have knobs set up so you can change all sorts of parameters. There's a really cool octave shifting delay on all of these MegaMagic patches. Cool. And so as you can see, some have like the cello up and down. This is the bowing. Now, we're not going to fool anybody into thinking this is a real cello. I mean, you can play it really well and people are going to, in a mix, it's going to have that vibe, kind of like early sampler vibe, you know? But it's only 8 samples. So if you look at the list of like the different sampled cello libraries you can buy from, you know, the big orchestral libraries, it'll say it's got, 8,500 samples just for cello. This isn't going to compete with those. It's 8 samples. So I'm getting more mileage out of 8 samples than anybody else on the planet. But it's still only 8 samples. I come up from a workstation background, and I really was more interested in new sounds that don't sound like every other sample library. Because when you really, really, really microscopically record a cello and you do it really well, everybody kind of starts to sound the same. So this is trying to make something a little different. Most of the sounds that say dry. Now, in the cello library, we had P, which was kind of a presence. When we got to the viola and the violin, I call it ambience. But it's the same basic thing. Some of my favorites are like the motion slow because there's this bowing and vibrato. It sounds so lovely. Now, the violin and the viola were played by Mary Rowell. She was recommended to me by Kevin after the cello sessions, and she actually lives about maybe like 5 or 6 blocks away from where I live, actually here in Portland. So, and then the MegaMagics, they, especially in the viola and the violin, I made them more into like a pad, so they're, because that reverb just kind of takes over. And again, you filter it. Got volume. Add the delays with the octaves. You know, really, really, really fun, different sounds than other string libraries. But we have the strings as well. The motion whispers, this is when we get into really beautiful, like harmonic territory. And a really fun trick, if you want to experiment, is there's all of these samples. It's playing them across the keyboard in their appropriate ranges, right? But if you choose one of these, Unify kind of forgets that map, and now it just plays that one sample, the whole keyboard. Which down low, before Eric Persing started Spectrasonics, I'll tell you a quick story. We used to get together and play samples and stuff for each other. We were really sample hounds and loved doing that kind of stuff. And he is someone that really lives for what samples sound like when you take like the top samples and you play them transposed down like 36 steps, because then you get into all sorts of really cool territory of really cool whole different things come out from the samples. And so I've always loved that with samples, that you can transpose them and put them into different places than what they were originally designed for. And you'll get all sorts of cool things from it. So make sure you experiment. Any sample map inside of Unify, you can open up, take a guitar, play just one sample. Doesn't sound like a real guitar anymore, but it's cool. So that's a fun thing to play with. Anyway, so that's viola. Again, you'll see crescendo. The down up is the bowing down and up, which is really pretty for the... I just looped it after a couple of these phrases. Right? Really cool. And then violin is up here, and you have the motion slow, motion fast, which here's motion fast with the MegaMagic reverb. Really pretty. So there's all sorts of elements in there. You can just imagine them combined together would be really interesting. That's what we did down here in the bonus section. Originally, you'll see zBONUS. These came with the original libraries, and these are just stereo samples you know, it's not layers and layers of patches. We get to that a little bit later. I'll show you in a second. But this is, so cello, I only had cello to work with. So I would layer cello and did different processing and effects and filtering and, you know, like Tetons, I layered it with like my virus synthesizer. Give it some motion and filter movement. Now these samples, a number of these you'll find inside of Korg synthesizers, their current ones, the Korg Wave State and Korg Mod Wave both have licensed samples. So you'll see some of these names if you've looked at the list of samples and you go to the Guru Bank, that's yours truly. And some of these sounds are there. Now for viola, I had the cello samples and I had viola, so I could combine those. Right? And then when you finally get to violin, I had both cello, viola, and violin, so I was able to do more like the whole orchestra. I love the dark ensemble. This is really cool. This is using those harmonics and motion and stuff like that. Right? So fun thing like that. Now, below this, you get into the Z strings, BPM strings. Even a 3/4 waltz. And you'll notice it doesn't have like a real string sound. I really wanted to voice and create something that was a little different. Because we also sell the Discover Station and the Core Station libraries, which are for Spitfire Audio's full orchestra library, the BBC Symphony Orchestra. If you go over here to the BPM strings and you choose something like 16th Steady Adventure, let's say let's load this into a new Unify layer, it's gonna load up real strings. And they just work together. I didn't want to try to sound like them. I wanted to sound different, so the two together. Now, in some of these cases, you're going to want to open MIDI box for the BBC and move the samples to play sooner by about 30, 40 milliseconds. Because the samples in the Spitfire library have about 40 to 60 milliseconds of error and extra just the beginning of the samples. But we can adjust and get sample timing to fix that kind of thing. So you can do that. Anyway, so yeah, so I wanted strings that kind of were different than just real strings because there's other libraries that kind of cover that territory. And I'm not really interested in covering that territory since there's so many other libraries that do that. On top of this, if you get to the zBPM, there's things like this, which is really fun where there's synthesizer parts. This is 2 OBXDs for the bass, and the right hand is a synth also. You turn those down, that's strings. So the two together work really well together. This is using a CC writer, which is set up and routed to some of the controls of the filter cutoffs of these synthesizers so that it is changing. Right? So that's how we're getting the motion out of OBXD to do that kind of stuff. There's so many things. I was really fortunate. My friend Houston Singletary had a little time. He was able to contribute 20 patches. And then I did a mod on this, so I wanted to do like a remix and stuff. Anyway, so you got those kind of fun things to play with. Old Vikings. There is an 808 kit included that you can play with. What happened? I did something to... Oh, I bring up the mod wheel. You're going to get the high end to lose. There's drum grooves up here with that 808 kit because I have these. So when I'm doing voicing on a library like this, quite often I'll write songs and I make sounds that will play in those songs. And usually I just keep the songs on, I don't do anything with them typically. They're just to help me make the sounds. But inside of Unify, we've got MIDI file players now. So we've got the ability, like this is Mystery of Life. If you go to Mystery of Life, this is a song using that drum groove and all the other parts. Right? And there's knobs set up, so you can turn things down, turn down the drums. You've got the ability to go from minor. This is major, then minor. Right? So that's pretty cool. There's 10 of these songs to play with. And you can do anything with the MIDI files. Minor. If you go to page 2, the broken piano. I go back in time to the bit time and get down time. Anyway, so you got those, you got the pads. Now these are the pads that are lots of patches. To make these sounds. So like this is really, really cool mellow pad. Comes from Red Danger, so you have the so you have things like that. After the danger, you need calm. So right, Angry Vikings for all sorts of crazy places to go. I mean, there's so much. Stuff like that. I added record noise so you can even get to the trio lo-fi. Right? There's all sorts of pizzicato things like pizzicato pizza. Here's an example where Unify is so efficient. We have 8 layers of pizzicato. Each one has a different jitterbox with different timings. In fact, you can even move this up so it's on purposely always going to be like 12 milliseconds late. Stuff like that's fun. Stuff So the library goes all sorts of fun places, from simple solo instruments with different articulations for for the cello, viola, and violin, all the way up to beautiful, lovely. It's different. It's not like any other orchestral string library out there, which is kind of refreshing. So, and it's on sale. Holidays, Merry Christmas. We have sales going on. All libraries, for the most part, are on sale. Dream State is not on sale because it just came out. Unify is not on sale because it hardly ever goes on sale, only maybe once a year. And we've already had that happen for the year. But all libraries, over 80 libraries, are on sale. So enjoy. Thank you for your support. If you pick this up, it was a really great joy to put the libraries all together and see how nicely they work together. So I hope you have the merriest of holidays. Thank you for helping make 2022 a wonderful year, and we'll see you in the next video. Okay, thanks.